Hey Brad, how's it going?
I am doing great, Mark. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I'm glad to be back from the AM radio to the FM radio.
That's right. We just thought we'd take a little tour back to the 1950s there, give you a little bit of AM radio style.
Our last podcast didn't sound the greatest, but don't worry. I think we've got the audio figured out. I hope.
I think between Mark and I think we were smart enough we were able to figure it out.
So let's go. We got a great show. Whoopity-doo!
He shoots. He scores. You're listening to The Neutral Zone with Brad and Mark. Coming at you from the land of the free.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Oh, it's hockey is just about over. We only got, 3 more games left and we're done for the summer again.
Yeah.
Just about done, folks.
I know.
Best of 3, Boston and St. Louis. It's going to be a barn burner, I think, the rest of the way. So
honestly,
we're excited.
Welcome to the show tonight, everybody. It's me, Mark, and Brad across from me.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a finals so far.
It has been back and forth, right?
I don't know who can predict what's going on.
Well, I thought after Game 3 when Boston won 7-2, I thought that's it, it's over. I thought my prediction of 7 games for Boston was going to be light. I thought they were going to take it in 5, maybe 6. Kudos to St. Louis for bouncing back, right?
Absolutely.
They put on a heck of a performance, unlike their fans outside the arena, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. Totally.
Mark has a beef with the city of St. Louis. If anybody from St. Louis is listening, tune in.
We're going to talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this.
So other than that, we've had kind of little splish splashes in the hockey world going on outside of the playoffs. Yeah,
we had a little Erik Karlsson news today.
Yeah.
Or yesterday, one of these days. They're all kind of blending into each other lately.
Interesting, eh?
Very.
He's saying he's got an announcement. Is he gonna do it before the finals, or is he waiting for after?
I think he waits till after. I think I just read somewhere that he's within the next week he's going to let San Jose know if he's going to stay there. And he also, the news came out, that we kind of chatted about this. It looks like a reliable source has been quoted by the Ottawa Sun saying that Karlsson is seriously hoping for a serious offer from not only the Ottawa Senators again to go back, but also the Montreal Canadiens. So we'll see. I don't know. It will be interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks.
I totally think that the Ottawa Senators would throw the bills at him.
They have the room.
They loved him there, and they hated that they traded him. But look, you traded him. You got some good pieces in a horrible trade, it looked like. But wasn't that a really bad trade?
Yeah, I don't think it was great.
It was a head scratcher.
They might have got a first. I don't know. Maybe that was.
No, I don't think they got.
I did.
I don't know if there was a first at all.
But I mean, regardless, it's one of those things where the impending $10.5 million contract, whatever he was going to get, probably hurt the value a little bit in the trade. So anyway, that's in the past. We'd have to go and look and see what the original trade was. I can't remember.
Off the top of your head, do you know where Ottawa picks in the draft?
They don't pick in the first. They traded that pick to the Colorado Avalanche.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
So
I don't know
they
that.
would have picked like 4th or 5th, I think. And no more, right?
Yeah.
So you think about Colorado with the players they've already got set up, and they had a pretty good run there. They're about to add 2. I mean, they have a really high first with Ottawa's, and then they probably have like a little later first with theirs.
This reminds me of what happened to Toronto, giving up the pick that ends up being the 2nd overall in the 2014 draft, or I don't know whatever it was. Yeah, and then they got Sagan.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Who should have been a Leaf.
And he helped Boston win a cup. I mean, he wasn't a huge part of that cup, but he was there.
Oh, he was a huge part. In the bars.
In the bars, yeah. Yeah, which hasn't stopped, apparently. You hear the rumors, but
They just cut him loose just like that, eh? Like, you're a partier, get the hell out of here.
Well, and they kind of cut loose anybody. It was such a weird dynamic there. I don't know if it was a player-driven thing.
Wasn't it Chiarelli?
It was Chiarelli, but I don't know. Like, there's been constant questioning as to whether Chiarelli was the one who wanted those moves done, or whether it came down from Cam Neely, guys like that, right? That's what I'd heard, at least, that could have been the thing, that Chiarelli didn't want to move.
It was a big story, right?
It was, yeah. And they kind of tore out the heart of that, like the young core that they were building. Sagan and Hamilton both got traded.
Yeah.
You know, within 2 seasons of each other.
Who's the key player in that? Do you remember? Because he plays for Vancouver now.
In the Sagan deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not Eric. What was his name? Louis Eriksson.
Louis Eriksson.
Louis Eriksson, who was a dud for Boston.
Who should have been a top 3 potential player, but never ever panned out.
Yeah. They had some other pieces there, though, so I wouldn't judge that trade without going back and looking at it, because I know they had one or two other pieces that were in that trade, and I'm not sure what they were. Or what
anyway, hey.
But crazy trades, right?
Yeah, totally.
And honestly, even the Hamilton trade turned into, I think that was like the 15th pick from Calgary that year, 15th overall pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it was a young player. I can't remember was it DeBrusque they maybe drafted with that pick?
I don't think so.
No?
I know Hamilton's name is familiar to all of that.
Or it could have been Session or whatever. I can't remember what his name is. But they drafted 3 guys. Remember, they had 3 picks in a row that draft. It was like 14, 15, 16 or something like that. But anyways, it was...
Well, there you go.
Good old Chiarelli. He was good for, a
good laugh.
A good laugh. Looking back on it, in hindsight, that's what he was good for.
Hey, Boston!
And Edmonton?
How you doing, Eddie? How you doing, Eddie?
Yeah. Looking at the 2 city of champions.
Oh, yeah.
The cities of champions.
Here we go, boys.
Yeah. So, got a little sidetracked here, though. I don't know where we were going with
Karlsson,
that's right.
Is he going to go back to Ottawa? And I think that it's a good possibility. They have $35 million in cap. How can't you just throw... I mean, you wouldn't have to do... Honestly, I still stick to my words the last time I talked about this. I think you could still sign Erik Karlsson for $7.5. But because they have all this crazy room in Ottawa and probably nowhere to go, they'll probably give him a huge front-loaded deal. Like, come play with us for, like, the next year, and we'll give you, like, $14 million for the season.
I think they
barring that you're healthy, okay?
Yeah, I think they go for even, like, more years than that, because here's another angle you got to consider. The guy they got in the trade with Vegas for Stone, was it Brunstrom or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the number 1 defensive prospect in hockey right now. Guy's Swedish. Young guy coming into the league, Swedish player. Who better to learn from as a defenseman?
Wow,
Swedish
good
defenseman
point.
than Erik Karlsson, right?
So you think, I even think
there's
more about the Senators.
There's a draw for him. So
bingo, bango, bongo.
You heard it here first.
That's right.
Well, second hand, but first, maybe, whatever.
On the neutral zone.
Yeah. Pew, pew. Yeah, we're insiders. But I don't know. It's tough to say whether he'll stay in San Jose. What do you think? You think he's going to stay, or you think he's going to go?
Well, if he wants a cup, I think maybe he takes a 1-year deal.
Do you think San Jose has what it takes to be a cup contender now, though? Like, Thornton's 1 year older, he might be gone. Pavelski might be gone. I don't know if that team is built to go. I mean, they'll always be in the playoffs, I think, with this group of players.
Well, okay, let's just slow down, because I think that Karlsson's decision also. I mean, he's gonna say that he's gonna come back next year or something like that, right? I mean, that's what his decision is. That's what we're gonna hear.
You mean?
No, I think what we're gonna hear from him is that, like, hey, I'm okay to play. I think that's the first thing we got to hear.
Well, for sure. I think every team has to hear. Any team who's interested in throwing serious cash at him.
I don't think Karlsson's going to come out after the Stanley Cup and say, I'm not going back to San Jose. I don't think that's what he's coming out to say.
Well, apparently I thought I read a story that said that he would let San Jose, maybe not, he's not going to come out and say that, but he's going to let San Jose know whether he's testing free agency or not. I think it's probably what he's going to do.
Okay. There's a team that's going to be crazy enough out there to throw him a lot of cash in a lot of years. Okay?
Yeah.
So he's got to play this slowly and see who's developing. Hey,
right.
Who decides to stick around in San Jose? Who's San Jose targeting to bring in? Karlsson just as well might wait until further after the free agency frenzy has started or whatever to decide where he goes. Or maybe things have sorted out before then, and then he knows better. But I think he lets things play out to see where these teams go first before he decides on where he's going to go. That would be the smart idea.
And I think you still seriously have to keep an eye on that southeast corner of the U.S. With those Florida teams. I think Vegas is out now. I think they've thrown too much money at too many guys. Possibly. You never know.
You think they're out?
Like in terms of Carlson.
Oh, yeah.
Like in terms of
totally
being serious.
They got a great defense. They don't need, they don't need the banged up Carlson back there.
No, exactly. And they, I think they'll have guys coming in to fill in for the guys. Maybe they'll lose because of cap constraints or whatever.
Well, another team that I also thought about was Phoenix Coyotes. Because they're a team that also just needs to make the cap as well.
So that would be more of if Carlson signs in Phoenix or Arizona, I guess, right? Is it Arizona or Phoenix? I can never remember now. Is it Arizona?
Yeah.
Arizona Coyotes. Sorry, old school. We've been around since it was Phoenix.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a slip of the Freudian slip, hey? But I think that if he signs there, that's a guy waving away flags saying, I don't really care about winning a cup, just give me the cash.
Yeah, you know what I look at Arizona right now, and I don't understand this, but their projected cap space is only $8 million.
Really?
Yeah. That can't be right.
That's bizarre.
I gotta click on this.
Who's taking up their cap? Like they have no real big name players down there.
They got money tied up, man.
Just like a lot of $4 and $5 million.
Okay, well I guess Oliver Ekman-Larsson signed that big deal last year, $8.25 million.
Who else is making anything north of 4?
Well, Goligoski makes 5.4.
Yeah, that's right. You forget about these guys down there.
Nicholas Halmerson is 5 on the nose for a defenseman, and he's a great defenseman. I like him. Schmaltz 5.8, and Derek Stefan at 6.5.
Stefan, that's a bad contract.
And I think they are paying for a couple other. I think they're paying for Pronger.
Are they still paying for Pronger? That's what I was going to say.
I was just trying to scroll down and see
Chris Pronger.
Paying for.
Guy's going to be 97 years old and still getting a contract from.
They're paying for Hossa.
Hossa. And that's what they kind of turned into the dumping ground.
$5 million for the next
how long?
2 years.
Is Pronger still on the books?
No, I don't see it.
Must have just came off because he was on for a long time.
Mike Ribeiro was on for one more year at $1.9 million.
Is Datsuk still on there? Or is he gone off now too?
No, I don't see it, and that's kind of weird. I thought
he was on there for a few years. Yeah.
Man, was that long ago?
It's
not on here. So I'm looking at cap friendly, folks. It ain't on there.
It ain't on there. Can't be real.
If it's not in the records, it doesn't exist.
With those players, Arizona would have had to have the best cap dump team in the history of hockey, folks. With those guys on it, like Datsuk, Pronger, who else was on there?
And aren't you just like staring at your own team, sitting on the couch, and you're seeing like, oh, I got this bum on our team. We're paying him like $7 million. I wish we could do that.
Pick up the phone to Arizona and trade him away there, folks.
Like, how come? And then you're just thinking, like, how come we didn't think of that? But Detroit's making this deal. Like, you take Datsuk and his $8 million contract, and they're like, yeah, well, we got to pay somebody something.
That's true. And if they got picks for it, right? I mean, they obviously got paid for it in terms of picks. And what would have been? What would have been better of Phoenix to do? They should have just given some like free agent $8 million for 1 year. For what purpose, though? Who cares? You need to make the minimum cap, right? Just give it whatever free agent. Merry Christmas every year. This is probably the last year you'll ever play because you're really not that good. They should have given $8 million, and then we'll put you on the fourth line. They should have given a guy like Iggy a contract. What were they doing there? They dropped the boat on that, or I don't dropped the ball on that one. Phoenix has been weird. They've been weird since year 2, basically, of their existence, right? So yeah, after everybody got used to calling them the Phoenix Coyotes, now they're the Arizona Winnipeg Coyotes, Jets. Yeah. Now I'm not even used to calling them Phoenix. Now I got to get used to. I didn't even know when that name change happened. Well, we're starting it right now, folks. We're calling them the Phoenix Jets from now on. Oh, Phoenix Jets. They're the Phoenix Jets. I don't care what the NHL says. I don't care what the copyrights say. They're now the Phoenix Jets. All right, so the Phoenix Jets could be possibly in the running for Erik Karlsson as well. Yeah, Phoenix Jets and Erik Karlsson, it's a match made in heaven, I think. There you go. The other things to consider, too, kind of in that free agency realm with teams that have a lot of cap space, right? Mm-hmm. How many of them do you think we'll see an offer sheet this offseason? To one of those high-end RFAs, like you have Matthew Tkachuk, you have Marner, you have Who else is in there? Is Line an RFA this year? I think Line is an RFA. I mean, he has some big name RFAs.
Do you know what they're just saying? Who's Edmonton's new GM there?
Ken Holland.
Ken Holland. Okay. Yeah. So on the NHL radio, they were, you're welcome, by the way.
A little bit of plug there, is that what you mean? Yeah. NHL radio. They paid us for that little plug there.
Yeah. I'm expecting my check.
Yeah. Okay. It's in the mail.
They're talking about Holland and if anybody was, maybe going to do this whole offer sheet.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Detroit and how they would be a perfect fit to take on something like that, right? But then there's talking about how, if Ken Holland was there, Ken Holland may have tried it, but Stevie Y, now he's there and that's his team, and I don't think he's going to do anything outrageous like that. I'm like, hey, wait a second. Edmonton needs a stud now.
Do you think Holland's going to
could totally see
it. I don't know if they don't really have the cap space, though. They have to get rid of some cap space before they can do that.
They could do it.
Who are they going to trade? Lucic?
If Toronto Maple Leafs can dump Marleau off to the West Coast again,
are they trading him? Is
why
that what
can't
they're doing?
They dump Lucic?
Yeah, but you're going to have to pay a premium to dump Lucic.
Why not go to Ottawa? Okay, take him, Ottawa. We'll gladly give you something in return.
Well,
in the meantime, we're throwing out an offer sheet to Tkachuk because we screwed up and we should have drafted you in the first place. You come play with us. Here's $10.5 million.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Can
Holland better pick up the?
Can Calgary pay Tkachuk $10.5 million?
Yeah, they could,
and still fit it in with everything else.
They would have to move some pieces around, but I don't think Calgary will shy away from anything.
They have $14 million in cap space.
Yeah, I don't think Calgary. I mean, as long as
they
it's
have
reasonable,
big names to put up. Again,
as long as it's reasonable, I don't think they will shy away from. I think Matthew Tkachuk is the player they build that team around. Regardless of Monahan and Gaudreau and those guys, I think Tkachuk is the player. I think he's their future captain.
Well, he is really good,
and I think he's just maybe he may not put up as many points as Gaudreau, but he's the guy that's going to pull that team into the playoffs and get them to the right point they need to. That's my opinion. I just think I'd rather have a guy who scores 80 points in the regular season and then in the playoffs can pull your team through the muck and all that garbage that goes on. Well, than a guy who puts up 100 points in the regular season and can't. I'm not saying Gaudreau can't, but can't hang in the playoffs.
You could afford him, but you guys don't have a goalie signed. Technically, your goalie right now is John Gillies.
I mean, they're going to re-sign David Rittich. I think he'll be their starter this year. It all depends on what it's for. And then the player,
Smith?
I don't know. I just think with how tumultuous of a season it was, I don't know if he's back there. And the other player you got to be wondering about, and I read another article about how he would be a prime player for an offer sheet because they have signed Tkachuk and Rittich and these guys is Sam Bennett.
Yeah, I was actually looking at him too.
He's up for a 10% raise. I think it is on his $1.95 million that he made this year. They have to give him 10% raise. So if a team offer sheeted him, would Calgary match it? I don't know. I mean,
What does he get
for money?
Yeah.
Well, he's got 1.95 this year, so another 10%. He's probably make like 2.05 million next year from Calgary. I think they'll give him the minimum they can because he hasn't quite, and just give him another 1 year, 2 year bridge deal. Like a prove-it deal, right?
Maybe now's where you take the jump and you sign him to a 5-year deal at $3.5 million, and hopefully you end up with some kind of Kucherov freak accident.
I don't know.
Sam Bennett's always supposed to be
he was
a good
highly
player.
touted, yeah.
And he's got the pieces around him to play with.
He's got the skill too. It's just there's something missing for him. I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know what it is.
He could get that playing along somebody like Tkachuk as well, right?
They've tried it a little bit here and there, but on a very temporary basis.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to get stuck on them, obviously, by any means. But the other thing that would be interesting, Stevie Y moving to Detroit, you mentioned that.
Right.
But Braden Point from Tampa Bay is an RFA.
That's right, yes.
And his former GM is now in Detroit. Do we see that being an offshoot?
There is room out there for the Edmonton Oilers to do something like this. And Ken Holland has been around the league for a long time. They got to do something like this now. Look, if you got reports around there that Connor McDavid wants to try to jump ship, you want to try to please this guy. I mean, he's not the Lord and Savior, right? But you got a very talented player on your team, and with just another piece or two, they could be a contender immediately.
Well, here's the bottom line, okay? Everybody who is bashing Edmonton fans and bashing McDavid and because he was supposed to be the savior and carry them, there's been no player in the history of hockey that's ever done that by themselves. Gretzky didn't do it by himself. He had a stacked team around him, right? I mean, yes, he was the best player in the game at that time. He's probably the best player to ever play. Arguably, you'll never know because it's just different eras, right? However, he didn't. It's not like he had plugs playing around him, right? I mean, he had a lot of really good players. He had Messier that he played with, Curry. He had a lot of guys that he played with. You look at Crosby. Crosby's any years that he's won, he always had really good players around him too. So you can't bash on Connor McDavid because he can't carry a team that has one other really good player on it. It's just And the problem for them is those two players that they have are such good players, like McDavid and Draisaitl, that those two guys are gonna carry that team to mediocrity every year for the rest of the time they're with that team, unless they can find a way to add some complementary pieces and a lot of pieces.
And in which case, I would think that they go out and if any team are there to put out an offer sheet, they can sacrifice a couple first-round picks because guess what? Like, it ain't gonna. I don't think it's immediate help that they're gonna see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say what that team needs to do. That's the thing, right? They can't wait very long for, like you said, a bunch of draft picks to develop. They need help now because McDavid's... I mean, yes, he's only 21, but his window is...
Is there an RFA out there that you think that they could throw everything they got at that would make them a playoff team?
One guy?
Yeah.
No. I think they need to... I think they're about 3 years away from making the right with the right moves of being built solidly enough. Maybe 2. But I think that they should still try. I think they should add a guy if they can. I just don't know which one they go after.
I think if they play their cards right, that they could put out an offer sheet, bring in the right guy, but then also keep in mind that they need to bring in somebody else, like a goalie or a defenseman.
Well, they have their $4.5 million guy at goalie now too, which we beat that one to death.
And I think he showed signs of being a brilliant goalie. Koskinen did have some really good games.
I think he's Talbot 2.0.
You think so?
I think so. I think the guy is just he's gonna have some good games, and then the pressure will get built a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He's gonna fall off a cliff.
Is if he doesn't learn to deal with the pressure, then I agree, he will fall off. Anybody will.
I just think he's an average NHL starter. And every average NHL starter goes on huge runs at some points in their career, right? They get hot. I mean, they're good enough to be in the NHL, and they just get in that zone. And I think that's what you saw with him. And I think that he's still going to return back to like the median average of NHL goalies. And you've just thrown $4.5 million at a guy because, like we talked about in earlier episodes, he had an awesome 21 games, and he was the next one. Just like they did with Talbot. He had a great season, and they threw a huge contract at him.
But the whole team fell off. They weren't playing defense. They weren't playing a good two-way game.
It's because they don't have the horses to do it.
I think
that's my opinion.
This team looked really good 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
But do you think that they caught lightning in a bottle there with that? Like said, all their players were having career years.
Hey, I think if you can do it once, you can do it again.
You had a goalie too, and I'm not trying to be negative on Edmonton, but you had a goalie in Talbot who was out of his mind. Obviously, he played 60+ games that year, and was good for them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You had guys like Cassian and those players who were playing a line and maybe even 2 lines above what they are as NHLers. I think, not to bash them. I mean, any guy who makes the NHL is a very good hockey player.
What I think you do for the Edmonton Oilers is you shake it up, and you shake it up in a positive way. You don't dump some big names off because that's the only things you got.
I think
you have to play smart with it. For sure. Lucic absolutely has to go.
That's the one big piece that has to go.
Yeah, I agree. And if not, maybe they are thinking of some kind of buyout. Or next year, you're going to start in the minors, and then we're going to bury you down there next year.
Could be. Very well could be.
If you don't come to camp ready to play, like you're making $6 million, we'll bury you.
Yeah, you never know.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, I would too.
Right?
I mean, is the guy done? Like, is he no longer?
Yeah. What's your deal?
What's happening? Are you done with being a high-end hockey player, or what?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, everybody knew that contract was bad when they signed it, and it never lived up to the expectations. Everybody was like, "Oh, we get 3 years of a good Lucic, and then we'll have to deal with the bad one." Well, he was bad in the second year,
yeah,
and he's been bad ever since, right? So, and again, this isn't to bash on any one team or certain players, but
this is a team that we're talking about UFAs and RFAs, right? And Carlson and that. This is a team that really needs to fix themselves, just like the Senators are in a hole. And Phoenix is, actually they've taken a very much of a good step forward.
The Phoenix Jets there.
The Phoenix Jets are flying high.
Flying high in Phoenix, yeah.
Flying high. They just missed the playoffs. And, when you look at the team on paper in Phoenix, it's not like...
They're just...
It doesn't... And nobody actually really leaps out at you, especially on the forward.
They're like the early 2000s Oakland Athletics of the NHL, right? I mean, they don't have any big names, like I said. They have a couple that I mean... Ekman Larson, obviously, and Stepan a little bit, but they just seem to they play a great system.
Well, I guess, thinking about it, if Phoenix got to do anything, they got to bring in a scorer.
They do. And with the other thing I wanted to ask, was Tippett the coach there last year? I know he's coached there at some point, but I don't know if he was...
He was in Florida.
No, yeah. Who's the coach there now? It's a former player.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
It's not a huge deal, but he instilled a really good system in that team, right? And he had guys buying in. They were a really lunch pail type of team. And they did look like they were going to make the playoffs there. But
Talkett,
that's right.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So, anyways, in terms of, we kind of got, again, you kind of get off here a little bit, but with the RFAs, I don't know.
And
we might see an offer sheet this year.
Well, and, there's lots of teams out there who hit the cap. I mean, there's lots of teams out there with cap space right now.
If you're Ottawa, right, and you're sitting there, you sign Carlson, just to either get him or make it difficult, do you offer sheet Mitch Marner? To mess up the Maple Leafs, one of your biggest rivals. And same as how we're talking about Edmonton doing it with Tkachuk. You mess up your biggest rival, or you get a really good player if they refuse to match. Right?
Yeah, and what about Columbus Blue Jackets, who might lose Panarin and Bobrovsky, and it looks like they have like $30 million in cap space.
Take a run at a guy like Marner or one of the big names.
And that's a team where you got a guy sitting there like Panarin still.
Who might, if you can get another good player, you can
if he can stay, hopefully, and you can convince him,
Well, pretty much Duchesne, I think, is as good as gone. From the reports you hear out there, I think he's gone.
Yeah.
The reports are he might go to Nashville, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where he should have gone in the first place.
Probably.
It's funny,
because
there's lots of reports about Nashville.
I think he's friends with what's his name there, their third line or second line center. They got traded from Ottawa to Nashville there a couple of years ago. Oh,
Smith?
No. I can picture him. I just can't remember his name.
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. Oh well, doesn't matter. But I know he's got a couple friends on there, I believe, that he knew from Ottawa. Anyways, we'll see. It remains to be seen, I guess. Do you think that we're going to see an offer sheet this offseason?
They're funny when they happen because everybody gets their 2 cents in. I would love to see one. It just spices things up,
Yeah, then one thing you got to worry about is an arms race in the sense that if you do it to some team, they are going to remember that, and they're going to come back at you next time.
Who knows? Maybe there's just some unwritten code about the whole thing.
I think it's more so that GMs are afraid that if they do it to somebody, then they're going to be in this opposite position sometime in the future, and hey, how you doing? Here's the favor returned.
Well, don't put yourself in that position.
That's it. That's why I don't think you've seen him so far.
Right.
But this crop of RFAs is completely different.
Marner should have been signed last year.
Oh, no question.
Tkachuk should have had a contract last year.
No question.
It shouldn't be to this point with these guys,
no.
Right? The only person that I got to argue with is somebody like Point in Tampa Bay.
Broke out even more this year. Yeah.
Who
saw that coming?
Cool. So lots of other... Wow.
They got sidetracked on that one.
There's playoffs happening too.
Oh, there is hockey going on. That's right. Yeah, I forgot.
So there's just a couple key stories really happening in the playoffs because we've all watched the games as we watched
games 3 and 4.
Boston just obliterate the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, like we talked about a little earlier, 7-2 in game 3.
And and then 4-2, and then a totally different team shows up for last night's game.
Yeah.
And they just Boston in game 3 just dominated them in everything. The physicality, they outskated them, they outpassed them, they outplayed them. St. Louis was running in circles. They were watching the puck, chasing everything. They give up a ton of penalties. And I know their coach comes out and blames the refs.
The refs, of course.
Right? Of course.
That's just a typical strategy. I mean, it's tried and true.
Yeah. And then, what's funny is like game 4, not many penalties against St. Louis.
Exactly. That's the point. I mean, they're playing this strategic game, right? If you call out the refs, it may come back to bite you on later on down the road, like next year as a team, because refs will hold a grudge a little bit. But they're not going to, in those next games, they know people are going to be watching them closer, right? This is all obvious, but we're just talking about it. So of course they're going to call it a little bit tighter or less tighter or whatever, however you want to put it, Do
you think that it's just a funny thing that you you call them out and then they watch it,
It's funny. I mean, it's a little ridiculous in my opinion.
In a sense, because it'd be like, hey, I don't know if those refs out there are watching that Marchand guy very well,
I don't know about that, guys.
And then all of a sudden you think the refs are like, oh, what's Marchand doing then?
Exactly. He's off licking guys and nobody's watching.
If it only worked that well, I think. But you are right. They definitely put some type of bug in their ear, right?
Yeah.
6 penalty minutes. I had to look that up.
That's what St. Louis got last game?
Minutes, so they had 3, and I know the game before, I think they had 8. So I think they took like one last penalty. I could be wrong on that, though.
Right now I want to pause for everybody to listen very, very carefully, and you could hear Mark's blood boiling through the microphone here, because we're going to talk about the fans in St. Louis outside the arena now. I think let's touch on that. What were your thoughts about the fans outside the arena in St. Louis, Mark?
Okay, St. Louis. I got a thing or two for you. When they pan out to the crowd in front of your beautiful stadium on your beautiful day, and I'm sure it's a little warm where you are, and maybe you're a little exhausted from your hard day's work.
And sorry, before Mark goes any further, let's preface this, okay? This is a different sport, different city, everything like that. But to give you an idea of how bad this is, the Toronto Raptors have the Jurassic Park outside their stadium, and they've had a couple other ones set up in different cities. There was one in one of the smaller centers in Ontario we heard that had 20,000 fans at this Jurassic Park, not even in Toronto, but watching the game on big screens. So that's the kind of crowds you can see at these outside of the arena gatherings. So anyways, take it away the rest of the way, Mark.
That's right. So here we pan out and they show the crowd outside of the St. Louis arena. Forgive me for not knowing its name. But the fans look half-mast. Okay?
Like there's only
half of them showed up. Okay? It's not even a packed area outside.
1,000 maybe?
Yeah, like 1,000 for maybe what you see. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt that there maybe is 5,000 that I didn't see.
Yeah.
Okay. And and maybe it's a very good camera trick, so they don't know where the back of the line is, right? Because you don't see this. Anyway, you got guys laying down in the front row after St. Louis scores, and he just gives a little.
And that's the most excited they got.
Pump, and then some people jumped up.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking dude, you're front row, watching your team. Is this your team?
Yeah. Because slow down, St. Louis. Don't get too crazy, okay?
They are the city of blues, man. That's so depressing to watch.
Hey. If we need to send the police in riot gear over there, you guys, don't get so excited.
Don't start flipping your lawn chairs.
Turn on your sarcasm meter right now, St. Louis, because we're laying it on thick.
Holy smokes. So it was just
the
reactions were undeniably lame.
Yeah.
And the fact that your team is in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Brad is so jealous because your team's in it. You know, I'm jealous because Boston's in it, but here you guys are. You got to get out there and support your team. Show a little more excitement when they score.
Yeah, Edmonton fans are jealous because they don't even know what the playoffs look like.
Hold on a second. I want to apologize right now, though, because I forgot that I thought one thing.
What's that?
I thought that maybe there was like only a 42-inch TV there. And so everybody in the front row had to lay down so the people in the back could see.
Well, maybe budget cuts or something.
It could be.
Anyways, that was Mark's pet peeve for the week here.
Anyway, listen.
Step it up, St. Louis.
Step it up, St. Louis.
Yeah.
Toronto and Calgary, we're packing it out there in the first round of this.
Round of the playoffs. Every team has been packing it out, right?
You guys like hockey there or what? You got to bring it. Get your A game together. Show up outside. Don't sit down. Get up. There better be a beer garden set up to keep everybody hydrated. And cheer, because those boys, when they win the Stanley Cup, I know you're going to be out in the street celebrating, and I sure hope you're not laying down for that either.
Wow, that's if they win the Cup.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, if they win the Cup.
Don't be laying down during the Stanley Cup parade either.
Well, I mean, you got to give them a little bit of a little slack here, Mark. I mean, it's not a sport where you have guys driving around us in the same circle 500 times with a bunch of beers and stuff like that. So it's not that, Mark.
What is the average age in St. Louis? 55?
Oh boy. Honk if you love NASCAR. That's the common bumper sticker, right?
Get on up.
Yeah.
Get on up.
Oh boy, we're ticking somebody off tonight, I'm sure. Anyways, okay, no, that's good. Moving on. What else we got?
Chara, broken jaw.
Yeah.
What a trooper to come back and finish the game.
If anybody has ever had any question, and obviously no one does, but any question about how tough NHL players are, look no further than that.
Zdeno Chara is one of the toughest.
Oh, he's a beast, right? I mean, that's not just because of his size.
He's playing, and he's 40 years old and still playing better than half the defensemen in the league.
Yeah.
He's still one of the top-notch guys.
Freak of nature in that sense, right? That he's just been able to go for so long. And do you remember in the 2011 playoffs? I don't know if he still does it. I haven't really watched. But do you remember him sitting on the bench between plays drinking Coca-Cola?
Which playoffs?
In the 2011 playoffs when they won the Cup.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah, maybe it was a couple of years later or something. But I remember watching it. He was in between plays, like drinking Cokes. Like, I don't know if it was because it was they figured out some of the benefits that it had in a short spurt like that. But I remember that because I remember just thinking, like, man, this guy, that's wild. Like, he's drinking Cokes on the bench. And just, I don't know, just crushing them, right? Like, it was wild to watch.
Could you imagine if he was crushing a cigarette?
couple beers or something, Goes out there and still plays better than half the league.
We all play better when we crush a couple beers.
Oh, boy.
So, listen, he is a super big trooper, and I think that he's going to come back.
You think he'll come back?
I think he'll play the next game.
That's a tough
injury.
It's
a huge game. And listen, if this is your going away party, he's out there. If he's thinking of retirement, he's playing. If he's not, he's sitting.
He's sitting. I think that'll be it. Mark's calling it. Now they're inside a little bit of information.
Hold on, what's that a second?
Yeah.
Yep, just in.
Yeah. Bob McKenzie just called us, let us know.
Chara will decide his fate for eternity in the next game.
By showing whether he sits or plays.
You heard it first.
But yeah, no, I think it'll be a good indication in all seriousness that if he's planning on retiring or really thinking about it, that he plays. I mean, I think you're right there. That's a good observation for sure. So on this though, do you think that are you still holding true to your St. Louis in 6?
No.
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 Are you thinking St. Louis in 7?
No.
What are you thinking?
Sorry. I want to stay true to my guts and my feelings. I want St. Louis to win.
Yeah.
But the fluctuations of both teams, flip-flopping back and forth, I see Boston as the only team that's stayed mediocrely consistent. from game to game.
Yeah.
Sure, they've had some lapses, but overall, they haven't flopped. They haven't flopped like St. Louis has. And that 7-2 game looks bad against St. Louis. So I just tend to say that, Boston has been able to hang in there no matter which game it's been.
Every game they've lost has been close.
Yeah.
Where games they've won maybe have been more of a blowout.
And I think, I think this is like what's happened against Columbus and Toronto, is that I think now Boston figures you out.
And it's very, very reminiscent of 2011 when they won the Cup. Remember, there was a couple of games in that finals. There was one game where they got blown out, but then there was a couple of games where they blew out Vancouver. Remember, there was the whole 7 past Luongo joke?
Right.
What time is it, 7 past Luongo?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's very reminiscent of that when you watch them have some close games, but then a couple of games in the series where they've just completely dominated. And even though the score maybe necessarily didn't show it, it was 5. What was the first game? 5 to or 4-2.
Yeah.
But remember, they outshot St. Louis. It was like 38-17 or something.
Oh yeah, that one.
That first game. So that game, forget what the score clock said at the end of the game, 4-2 or 5-2, whatever it was.
And that was a team that was coming off of an 11-day layoff.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't expected to show up like that. Now, given like you said, the first period was kind of a write-off. It took them the first period to get going.
Yeah.
But after that, it was all Boston.
It was.
They showed that they could come together, show up after 11 days off, and play great hockey. I mean, not the whole 60 minutes.
Get their legs under them and
they
keep
came
going.
in and played enough to win that first game. I thought that was brilliant to see.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, anyways,
what do you think?
I still think it's Boston in 7. That's what I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that too, but I'm still going to root for the Blues.
I'll root for Boston just so we have difference of opinion here.
I think the Blues need some more fan base love.
Apparently, anybody who wants to cheer against Boston needs to head to St. Louis because they got a lot of space in their.
I just can't believe you're watching the game sitting down. I remember when I was in buying my couches for my house, and the salesman was trying to sell me on this one couch, and he's like, "Yeah, check it out. You can sit down." He's like, "Do you watch sports?" I was like, "Of course I watch sports. I'm from Canada.
I don't sit while I'm watching sports."
So he's like, "Yes, you can like sit back, recline in the chair, put your feet up, put your head back." I was like, "Buddy," do you watch sports? Like, I don't sit like that ever. What are you watching, a chick flick?
second half of the first period, you're falling asleep?
What, are you watching, baseball?
No, I was watching the Edmonton Oilers play hockey. That's what he's watching.
Oh, he's an Oilers fan.
Got the sound effects wrong there. Sorry, folks. Anyways, it's anybody who wants to cheer or go to St. Louis. They need the fans.
Hey, let's go St. Louis Blues. I'm serious.
Let's go Boston Bruins. I'll say that.
Maybe it was really hot outside. I don't know, but anyway,
it could have been.
Let's go. Tomorrow night we're going back to Game 5.
Looking forward to watching it, and hopefully we'll have another show for you guys here beginning of next week to recap.
That's right. I hope that we can do a preview before Game 7, like with Colin.
That's what we're going to plan to do.
But if not, then we'll be coming back talking about how we were totally right on who won the Cup in Game 6.
Well, either I'll be right or Mark will be right. We'll see.
That's right. So that's it for tonight, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the show and you've been listening along to Mark and Brad from the Neutral Zone.
Remember to give us a follow. Twitter is at Neutral Zone Canada, or is it the Neutral Zone Canada? Neutral Zone CDN. So give us a follow on there. Check us out on Facebook, the Neutral Zone Canada, and catch our episodes on Google Play, iTunes, or YouTube. So check us out. Tell your friends, and just give us a like and a listen or whatever.
And stay tuned, because we got big news coming very soon. Tell your friends, tell everybody, start listening to us. In fact, Brad and I are the most rising podcast in Saskatchewan.
You watch it, and you're going to be able to tell your friends that you listened to us before we were big.
That's right. All right, that's it, guys. We'll have a good night or day.
Yeah, take it easy.
Peace.